That won't be the only thing that'll quiver. Super chat from Joshua, who says, thanks for all you do. If Kyrians can have a wing transmog, so should my demon hunter. What race, class, transmog do you want? That is a good question. I think one to save for Control the Show, so I can actually think about it, though.
Yeah, sure.
Because certainly as a hunter, I would love to be able to customize lots of things, which basically just means give me some survival knives for my character's belt, nice. And, you know, different quivers. Oh, Blizz, Daddy Blizz, if you give me quiver customization, that won't be the only thing that'll quiver. There, that's my funniest joke I've ever made. And speaking of things that are funny, for $6.90, from Razor Claw, another super chat, thank you. And then also, man, Mr. CW coming in here with another super. So
fantastic.
I think we might be able to do a Control the Show segment later.
I hope so.
Thank you guys, all queued up. We're gonna do our sort of chitty chatty talk show bit at the end. Yeah, there was Joshua who asked if Kyrians can have wing transmogs. He says that, so should my demon hunter. What race, class transmogs do you want? So I think what that really is race class customizations that are unlockable. Now, what I'd say there is, and I think this would be humongous, if you could bring back the class order halls as a relevant thing. Yes, and then actually imagine if you could go back to Light's Hope as a paladin and get paladin cosmetic upgrades by doing cool paladin activities that are entirely based on the class fantasy of being a paladin. So maybe you could change your wings, maybe, Labrum, or, your sort of holy books. You could get different holy books. I don't really know what it would be. I mean, for me as a hunter, it's obvious. Different quivers, maybe little survival knives, things for our belt, maybe little backpacks. I think if they could do that on a very class basis, I wouldn't say spec fantasy, I'd say class fantasy.
Yeah, class for sure.
Boom. Boom. That would be just, insert the perfection emoji, insert that here, because that would do so well. People would be so big into that, I think.
Yeah.
Class fantasy works. Legion proved it.
Yeah, I think it's like those two things they can focus on, which are the things that people are actually like used to, which are class first and foremost, absolutely. But then you also have like race and faction stuff, which they kind of are starting to do a little bit with heritage armor, but they're a little slow on that in like by comparison to focusing on other things. So it's like if they could just nail getting class stuff and then maybe race stuff. I mean, there's a decent overlap there as well, because I think the one thing that people have always wanted since the dawn of time is why aren't night elf priests using light that's like moonlight colored? It's stuff like that.
Since
I think
the dawn of time, cavemen have wanted that.
yeah. It's the case of like blood elves. Should they have the option to like? I don't know if they would. I mean, obviously, the actual lore reason to get this sorted would be pretty difficult, but actually getting them to use Seal of Blood stuff, the visuals that are, back from them tormenting the Naru to use its power by force, just here's your spells, but they're a little bit more red than usual. Like green, I mean, this green fire, like.
Yeah, it doesn't take a massive amount of... Okay, in some ways it's very easy to do that. You can just change some color values. But that said...
Yeah.
Seems easy in practice.
Yes.
It could be harder in the technicals. It's a lot harder in the technicals because we don't know how it's architected.
Yeah, it's probably actually pretty difficult overall. That's why they've only ever done it once. But it's like it's that general thing where give us more colors of the class mount, give us more variations of the class mount. Stuff like that to try and make sure everyone has the ability to customize the way they kind of want to, and have things to, not even just things to work towards, but actual like aspirations for the game.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty important. But
yeah, so I think the response to that question basically is that's what I think for a hunter, what you think for a paladin, and that would be so much better than a Kyrian transmog, a Night Fae transmog. I think the class fantasy is far stronger than the Covenant fantasy. Yeah. So, sure. I mean, there you go. The more customizations, the better. If we can then, move on to getting some armor tinting, Look, there is a future where a few more improvements are made and we get class sets back. But you do kind of wonder, like, class sets are obviously so much harder to do.
Yeah.
So much more work than doing the armor piece sets. You kind of do wonder how, a lot of us thought, oh, we're clearly going to get so much more in the way of art assets once they no longer have to do class sets. And it doesn't feel like that yet.
No.
So that's probably not helped the game massively. But yes, customizations, more of them, that would be awesome. And then also, I guess, racial ones would be great. I think that the player's connection to the fundamentals of the Warcraft experience, which is like our races and our factions. Yeah. I wish my reputation with the Exodar was more important.
Yeah, that's actually something I will continue up a little bit there, because I was just thinking, what would I want as a Draenei and as a Lightforce Draenei? What would I particularly want? And I think it's more assets that are available that are up to snuff for now, that fit that fantasy. Because I'm thinking about, like, one of my favorite transmogs that I have is using one of the very old purple XR emblem shields.
Yeah.
And it just looks kind of shitty. And it's the crystalline Koresh, I think it is, whatever it is.
That one.
The crystal sword. I'm like, can I please have...
that you got from the Grand Questing.
Yeah. Can I please have a beautiful, like, even like the more Lightforged Draenei oriented crystal color? Can I have weapons like that? Can I just have stuff that isn't all just, here's the Covenant ones? Because as much as I like having like a Kyrian transmog setup and using like the long spear for that, I'd really love to just have a full, hello, this is, I am my race and class put together really well in 2021 as opposed to 2017, 2016, maybe earlier, like.
Oh, well, I messed up the cameras.
Yeah, no, good.
Massively agree. Massively. I think that it's the bread and butter of World of Warcraft that I think is what we need to focus on. And the more that we go cosmic and spooky and very abstract and very, I say very intellectual, I don't mean that in a, you have to be 145 IQ to enjoy Rick and Morty. But in a way where, the lore is less like, where the lore is just so abstract and technical
it's conceptual
and speculative and conceptual. I actually really love that stuff. I do enjoy it a lot, but it needs to be counteracted with that, like, the roots that tie us to the world. Yeah. And I think that is our races and our classes.
Yeah, we bring the stuff with us into the cosmos, as opposed to just we land there and there's nothing with us.
Yeah.
Having that, like, constant connection would be useful.
Yeah, and it's like, thinking about the Heritage Armor, I mean, I thought Heritage Armor would have been way better if we got new reputations for our cities, for our factions, or just stuff to actually do for them. Yeah. But even just that, they added them in, and there are a whole bunch of people rolled up new tunes just to get them. So, the more of that stuff, the better. So, big thing.